Throughout history, all people have seen things that they do not agree with and taken a stand to change them. Two of these people are Frederick Douglass and Malcolm X. They were two men who saw what was happening, did not agree with it, and dedicated their lives to changing that. Frederick Douglass used his experiences, his way with words, and his extremely charismatic personality to make change. Born a slave, he escaped and bought his freedom. Because of his life experiences, he was able to expose the cruel life of a slave through lectures and speeches. A mere look, word, or motion, a mistake, accident, or want of power are all matters for which a slave may be whipped at any time. This, from one of his 3 autobiographies, has always shown people the cruel nature of the slave trade. He started out his career when heard giving an impromptu speech at a Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society meeting in 1841. What he said was so motivational that the society hired him immediately. He soon became one of the most famous anti-slavery icons of the day. Being black, he faced much adversity, skeptical beliefs, and little to no power at the start of his career, but he never gave up. Douglass's true power over people was the way that he could connect with them through his powerful literary skills, such as his newspaper writings and books. The long-term effect that he worked for was the start of the Civil War.
Malcolm X worked to make change by following his mentor Elijah Muhammad. His fierce public speaking ability also allowed him to convert many people to the Nation of Islam, which was Muhammad and Malcolm's primary goal as followers of Islam. Malcolm X was a firm believer in black separatism, and he opposed the ideas of Martin Luther King Jr. Malcolm X believed that all white people were evil, and the only way to have equality was by taking up arms and defending themselves against white people. They've always said that I'm anti-white. I'm for anybody who's for freedom. I'm for anybody who's for justice. I'm for anybody who's for equality. I'm not for anybody who tells me to sit around and wait for mine. Malcolm X gave this speech, What Does Mississippi Have to Do with Harlem, in 1964, and with his fierce public speaking ability, he was able to spread his ideas of equality to many people. After Malcolm X returned from a pilgrimage to Mecca, he changed his ideas of equality and realized that Elijah Muhammad's ideas were not as great as they once seemed. He turned against Elijah Muhammad and grew more fond of Martin Luther King Jr. and his ideas of a non-militant plan for having more equality for black people. As a young adult, Malcolm X had no power in society. While under the influence of Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X gained more power in society. Because he was black, he didn't have as many rights as white people did, but he did have the rights to form congregations and convert people to the Nation of Islam. Because he was so radical for equality of black people, Malcolm X was given power to try to change people's beliefs. After he changed his ideas on equality, Malcolm X had rights to attempt to teach people about a non-militant view of equality, and he was able to reach out and try to teach a wider variety of people. Between the 19th and the 20th century, the overall mindset of people in America began to change. At the time of Frederick Douglass, people didn't even view blacks as human. But by the time of Malcolm X, people began to understand that African Americans were humans. They just weren't equal to white people. These different mindsets also allowed the two men to work for change in different ways. Frederick Douglass used his knowledge to begin the movement against the mistreatment of blacks. Malcolm X continued the ideas others have been working on for the past 100 years. Both men were successful in raising awareness about the equality of black people, but not as successful at making long-term change. They were both parts of the puzzle that we are still making to this day, the puzzle of human rights.